I just got to get the clip, which can be a little difficult. Could use a flathead. Alright, before we get started on this video, I want to say I shot this Encoder motor all-wheel drive problem back in September of 2023. I've driven this all winter, this past winter, and have had no issues, so I can tell you it worked. Okay, today's project, replacing the transfer case that includes the Encoder motor. Seems like an easy process. I have to remove the drivetrain. What I meant was drive shaft. I call the drive shaft drivetrain a lot in this video. Fair warning, I meant drive shaft. To get at the motor, Encoder motor, remove that, put in the new one. Seems like a plug and play. Bought this from Rock Auto. That's the GM part. Now, from what I researched, they might have used one called a Dorman. I went with this one. It's well repped. It's GM genuine parts. I'll show it to you here. Another box. So the reason why I'm replacing this is because if you have an Astro, sometimes you might hear this sound, and where it says service all-wheel drive, you like turn the key and it goes click, 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 and it says service all-wheel drive. From my research, this is usually the issue. When I put, it wouldn't give me a service code, which was weird. This is what I was told that will fix the problem. I guess it's a common problem with the Astros. But this is what we're looking to replace. The trouble is just getting at it. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to attack is getting the drivetrain off, which should be good and challenging. And you're going to need a nice little 10mm ratchet. I got this little ratchet wrench. I think it should do the job pretty well. Let's start with that. Okay, so here's the front of the drivetrain. I am kind of parked on an angle here. Drivetrain goes back here, and tucked back here is the Encoder motor. So we gotta take the drivetrain off. Should be challenging, but we're gonna give it a go. And there's 4 10mm bolts here we gotta get at. Let's get those off. I'm gonna try this ratchet wrench. That should do the job. Hold up, listen to me. Make little markers on where that drive shaft is attached to. When you go to put it back together, that way you know exactly where it fits to. Otherwise, you might be doing some guesswork. As you watch this video, if you finish it to the end, this will make sense. Mark it before you remove it. Might need a little bit of, I'm gonna spray some of this on here. It's worked for me in the past on some tough nuts and bolts. Take the cap off, Steve. There you go. Let that sit for a sec. Alright, that did the trick. Got one loose. I recommend this little ratchet wrench, 10mm. It's able to get in there pretty well and tight. There's one. Put these somewhere safe. I'm actually going to get a little receptacle. It's 2. Well, the other 2 up top and tough to get at, so I'm going to move the vehicle so they come down. A little bit easier to access. Okay, now they're down. I can access them. That's what I call working smarter, not harder. The tricky thing is, I think, putting this back up. That's gonna be a little tricky. That's 3. One more. Helps to hold your finger there in the center. There. That's 4. Now we gotta hit this so it comes loose and we can slide the back piece. This is on there pretty good. Put some oil penetrator between the cracks there. Yeah. Next step, try to get that loose. I'd suggest a rubber mallet. Okay, we got the front part down. After whacking it a bit with this, not the rubber mallet, all I really did was give it a firm pull down, and that did the trick. So now what we got to do is go to the rear. I'll show you. Come on back here. And again, the piece that we got to replace is behind the rear of the drive shaft, so we got to slide this off, which it looks like it already wants to go, and we can get at this piece. Oh, everything's tough to get at. Okay, I'm gonna try to hammer that out.
Now I'm using a piece of wood here. I didn't want to do any damage to my vehicle underneath, so I felt like, you know, somewhat soft piece of wood would be a good option. A little trial and error here.
Such a challenge. Such a challenge. That didn't work. Great job, Steve. There it goes. Alright, we're just going to slide that straight back so we can put it on exactly the way it was. Now we can get at the transfer case where the encoder motor is going bad. So we got 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 15 millimeter. Alright, I'll penetrate on it. There's 1. Get that loose. That's number 2. Tricky angles. Alright, I gotta put the camera down. Alright, let's get the 3rd one loose. The toughest angle. There There she goes. All right, I'm gonna put the camera down and get all these off. Make sure I put Loctite back on this. Okay, one more up top. All right, that's 3. Okay, I believe it's clipped under here. Tough to see, but we're gonna undo that clip. Let's take it off here. All right, should come off here. Wow, that was easy. Now I just got to get at the clip, which can be a little difficult. Could use a flathead. All right, got you on the other side there. Tricky angle here. Push this pin down. There she goes. Yeah, she should come out now. There she goes. Oh. Now there is a gasket back here you can reuse. So I'm just gonna take that off. All right, I might clean that up a little bit. Just gonna put that aside. Oh boy, I don't know, some stuff going on in there. Let's go grab the new one, compare and contrast. All right, so here's the old piece. I don't know, some gunk buildup in there, but supposedly when your all-wheel drive starts doing that clicking noise, this is the problem. Here's the new one. What we gotta do is remove this. I'm not gonna take this plastic piece off till I'm in there ready to go. I'm gonna redo the clip and redo the bolts. Out with the old, in with the new. Just a little wipe off with the dirt. Again, this is the gasket. Alright, in order to put on the gasket, we got to remove this plastic protective piece. You don't want any dirt getting in there, so be very careful now. Right? Like a glove. Very good. Okay, we're set to install. Here we go. Bring it a little closer. All right. And it's gonna go in pretty much straight up like that. Just line up the bolts with the holes, or the holes with the other holes where the bolts go. That piece up there, that little knob sticking out, it's got to fit perfectly into there. So just do your best, line it up perfect. There she goes. She's in there. Do the clip in the back. The clip in. There she goes. All right, grab the bolts. We'll start at the top. Get them threaded in a bit. I was gonna put Loctite on it, but it says right on it, cancer, may cause cancer. So, I'll tighten them down nice and snug. There's still some Loctite on these anyways. And put my finger on that to kind of keep the bolt steady. Make sure you get these good and snug and tight. Now I did take this bolt off here so that I had a little give on this. I probably didn't have to loosen it that much, but oh well. Alright, clip's done, bolts are all tight. Now it's time to put back on the drive shaft here. Yeah, let's give that a go. Time to put back on the drive shaft. Alright, make sure everything's kind of lined up there. I will say this is awkward. A little wiggle. I tell you. Alright, with some finesse, it's tough to see, but with some finesse and wiggling and supporting it from the behind, I was able to get it on here. Okay, now I'll go to the front. Have to undo some bolts, or I'm sorry, redo some bolts. All right, 10 millimeter. We are done. So you gotta line this up pretty perfect. All right. Well, here's the challenging part. You gotta line up the hole, so I'm gonna have to go back to the rear part and twist it a little bit because the holes are not lining up in there. Trial and error. Alright, so the last part is lining up those 4 10 millimeter bolts, and you know, it's tough to line up. You just kind of have to guess as you go, so if you don't get it, you gotta pound it back out and then rotate it to where the bolts will line up to the front drive shaft. I'll give it another shot here. All right, finally got them lined up.
Mark it before you remove it.
I took a few times. What I'll say is use like a glove or a rag for the rear, because when you don't want to slide the shaft all the way closed and have to hammer it back out again over and over. So in the rear, just put like a glove or something in between here so it doesn't lock shut and you don't have to come back and hammer it. I was using my glove. I was able to slide it forward and back, rotate it, slide it, rate it, you know what I mean? So, all right, let's do the bolts back in and we're done. Just thread them all in, tighten them down. Okay, just to wrap up, it's July 20th, 2024. I did that back in September 23, took it on a huge road trip, drove this out through the winter, throughout the mountains in Colorado, and the all-wheel drive performed very well. Never had an issue, the light never came on again, so I can stand behind this video, fix my problem. If you have this issue, I hope it helps yours, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.